Welcome to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. In each episode, we're going to bring you insightful interviews and discussions with top restoration industry leaders. We're also going to delve into their business, the strategies that made them successful, and most importantly, the valuable lessons they've learned along the way. I'm your host, Clinton James. I'm also the Chief Marketing Officer at Water Restoration Market. We're a digital marketing agency dedicated to helping restoration companies nationwide secure more high-value water jobs. Now, this show, it aims to provide you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the restoration industry. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. I'm your host, Clinton James.
And I'm Bobby Thomas, the CEO of Extreme Services.
All right, Bobby. Pleasure to have you back on here. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about marketing channels, specifically what marketing channels are going to provide the most success in terms of marketing the three core services that most of your restoration companies offer. And that's water damage restoration, mold remediation, and then fire and smoke damage restoration. Okay. Now, you've got just countless numbers of marketing channels available to you as a restoration company, right? There is obviously the stuff that you can do online. There's the stuff that you can have a business development rep do out in the community to generate work for you. You can get on TPAs and program work there. You can run commercials, television commercials. You could run radio spots. You can go out and spend money on billboards. Just because all of these marketing channels are available to you doesn't mean you need to put your marketing dollars to promote all of these services through all of these marketing channels, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take it through those core three services, and we're going to talk a little bit about where you've had success marketing those services and then what I've seen for the clients that I work with. All right?
Absolutely.
All right. So let's start with emergency water damage. So for me, water damage restoration is pretty much the core service for most of the restoration companies that I work with, right? It is the number one type of job that they want to get. It is, if you look at a pie chart, it's where the majority of their revenue comes from, is water restoration, whether it's mitigation or rebuild work. And it's probably the most for a new restoration company, those are the jobs that you want to get right out of the gate, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about where do the water jobs that you're doing right now, where do those traditionally come from?
So, as you probably already know, majority of our water work in general is TPA based. With the different vendors that we work with. So that's where a majority of our work comes from. Now, I will say that we have used other marketing channels. One of them has been digital marketing. Digital marketing is another platform that's great for bringing in water damage leads. Some contractors may use plumbers, referral plumbers, and do the referral fee. And some may use other companies such as 33-mile radius and things of that nature. Now, personally, what I found that works best for me is the TPA space and digital marketing. Now, you have to find your lane and what works best for you. But TPAs and internet marketing has, historically worked the best for us.
Well, let's talk about TPAs. For those that maybe didn't listen to the original interview I did with you where you talked about growing your business successfully through TPAs, give the audience, maybe they're not familiar with the terminology. Let them know what a TPA is.
So a TPA is the third-party administrator. And what a TPA, what they do is they have agreements with insurance carriers such as Allstate, Liberty Mutual, State Farm, so forth and so on. And what you do is you sign on to become a network contractor with them. And as the insurance carrier sends claims to that TPA, you get those claims and are able to fulfill those jobs through that TPA network.
Nice. So the cost to acquire the client is basically nothing once you're on the TPA program, right?
Right. So there's a little bit of a cost incurred, which is your fee that you have to pay to TPA, depending on what TPA that you're on. Let's say Alacrity, for example, you give them 5%. So you get 95% of the invoice, they get 5%. Same thing with Lions Bridge. You get 95%, they get 5%. So technically, if you were to break that down as far as marketing, your marketing fee is 5% of what your total invoice is.
Which isn't bad when I compare it to, like,
Right.
digital marketing. Most of my clients are looking to be in that 10% range in terms of their
Mhm.
cost to acquire a job there. TPA programs, not everybody is eligible to jump on those right away. So there's different marketing channels that somebody just getting started, or maybe somebody that doesn't wanna go the TPA route could pursue. For example, you mentioned online marketing. That's what me and my agency do, and we do it really well. But there's also different marketing channels online, right? So if we're gonna talk specifically about emergency water damage, I would
Mhm.
never tell someone to go actively spend money to promote those services on like social media, like your Instagram, your Facebook, your TikTok. Doesn't mean you can't highlight that those are services that you offer organically on those platforms, but I wouldn't go out and invest a bunch of money to promote those services. And the
Yeah.
go ahead, Bob.
No, so I would agree. I wouldn't, promote, putting money into social media, not for emergency damage water jobs.
Not yeah, but I've seen them though, right? Because 'Cause I'm in this space, like, I see constantly other marketing agencies that are doing, running paid ads on Meta, so that's like
Mhm.
Facebook and Instagram, promoting emergency water damage, and I think about it and I put myself in the shoes of a homeowner, right? They come home and they're standing in 2 inches of water in their kitchen. Maybe just I'm just too old, but I couldn't imagine coming home, standing in 2 inches of water, and my first thought is, "Let me hop on Instagram or Facebook to find a contractor there." Right? What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I mean, if I'm coming home to 2 inches of water, that's the last thing I'm thinking about is getting on Facebook. I'm like,
But
so
everybody
what you gonna do? Like you said, I mean, you're gonna hop on Google or call your insurance company, whatever it's an emergency situation so you can try to get it taken care of. That's what you're gonna worry about doing.
100%. And for those people that go on Google, you need to look at the real estate that's available to you on Google, right? If you look at Google as a marketing channel, when somebody does a search for really any home service business, but we're talking specifically about emergency water damage, what you
Mhm.
traditionally see at the top of the page are going to be ads, probably anywhere from 1 to 4 ads. There's going to be some pay per click, there's going to be some local service ads there. And then underneath that, you're going to see a map and you're going to see the first three, what they call GBP, Google Business Profiles. So what we try to do with our clients in terms of dominating Google is we want to run those ads that are at the very top of the page. And then over time, using SEO practices, we want to try
Mm.
to improve their ranking in that map section there. Because if you're in one of those major markets and you somehow secure yourself a top 3 listing in that what they call the map pack, I'm
Right.
telling you, you're going to be turning away business, especially when you have some kind of emergency like weather condition or something like that that's
Right.
generating phone calls there. So for me, when it comes to marketing channels online, if you really want to focus on getting water damage calls, you need to focus on Google. You need to focus on running some kind of paid ads, whether it's local service ads or pay per click. And then obviously do everything that you can to get your Google business profile as high in the maps as possible,
Mhm.
so you can get that. Now let's transition and talk a little bit about mold remediation. So personally, when I do pay per click campaigns for my client, I don't spend a lot of money on mold. I know a
Mhm.
lot of restoration companies love mold work, but I've tested this, right? I've run PPC campaigns for mold in almost every part of the country. And what I see is when you're paying per click, the calls that that you get, I'd venture to guess like 90% of them are what I think are tire kickers. Right. And
I agree.
I put them in two categories, right? You got little old ladies that have some black stuff in their shower. They could probably clean with a little bit of bleach and elbow grease. And then depending on where you are in the country, there's a lot of renters out there and a lot of renters making calls looking to get their landlords in trouble. And I don't care how good you are at selling jobs, if the renter is the one that calls you out to that property, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to get
There's nothing you can do about it
yeah,
if
the
you're
mold
trying to file it
remediation.
with the insurance. Absolutely, yeah.
Now, with that being said, though, when it comes to online marketing, there are things that you can do to promote mold remediation services where you're not paying per click, you're not paying per call, right? You really want to emphasize like the health concerns associated with mold, and that becomes like an educational opportunity for you. So if you have those social media pages, like your Facebook page, like even a LinkedIn page or an Instagram page,
Mhm.
you can create some content, and through content marketing, you can promote that, but really educate homeowners and business owners on what to look for in terms of mold in their home or in their business. Educate them on the dangers of just letting that sit and not taking an active role in kind of getting that mold out of their home.
Mhm.
Right. So I think content marketing, as opposed to paid ads on social media, or even on Google, is probably a better way to go to promote mold remediation services. Does most of your mold work come from TPAs as well?
So we get mold in a couple different ways.
Yeah.
Of course, we do get mold with TPAs, but we're also listed. on the IICRC website as a certified mold remediator.
Okay.
Another thing that we do, and this kind of works with water too, is, since we're talking about marketing channels, another thing that we've done in the past was use Thumbtack, Thumbtack,
Really?
TripAdvisor, those type of platforms. And again, some of them are tire kickers and some of them are serious and ready to move forward. I think with mold, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's real important to educate your customer uh, so that they see you as as a force in what you're doing so that they'll call you when they do have a problem with mold. Because most of the time people are calling and asking, do you do mold? Can you come out and give an estimate? When you give the estimate, they're ready to faint because because the price point. But the thing is like you said, the people that are really ready to do mold services, uh, I think if you present yourself as an authority in the industry and educate the customers about what you do, uh, as far as the safety concerns with mold, I think people will pay more attention to that versus an ad that's running on Facebook or whatever the case is. Because again, like you said, there are a ton of tire kickers out there, and we're in business to make money, and nobody really wants to deal with that to a certain. I mean, of course, there's a certain level of attrition you have to deal with,
Sure.
but as the business owner, you want to kind of weed out the junk as much as you can.
Well, you've been doing this for years, so I imagine at this point you have a database of clients that you've provided any number of services to,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's carpet cleaning, air duct cleaning, water restoration, fire, mold remediation. Do you have an ongoing newsletter that you're sending out to clients to educate them and then potentially promote some of the other services that you're offering?
You know what? We actually did have a newsletter that went out for a period of time. What we did, we actually stopped it because we got so heavy in water and firework on the TPA side. We kind of dialed back home services a little bit, but
Mhm.
it's going to be coming back here pretty soon.
Man, I think that's a great opportunity because once you get a client and you provide great service to them, it doesn't matter what service you offer, you want to continue to stay in front of that client on a regular basis there,
Absolutely.
right? Whether it's a homeowner or a business owner or even one of your referral partners, you want to
Hmm.
continue to put out that educational content. Definitely do it on social media. We're going to talk about that in future episodes, best ways for restoration companies to utilize social media. But I think content marketing, social media engagement, email newsletters, those are a great way for you to promote, educate, and promote mold remediation services.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about fire and smoke damage restoration, right? That's a big one. We had tons of fires in California, in Southern California here
Well,
earlier this year. I know as we record this, I think Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is experiencing some horrible fires there.
yeah.
I mean, our prayers are going out to everybody impacted by any of these fires. Where does the majority of the fire and smoke work that you do come from?
So majority of our fire and smoke is 100% TPA.
Okay.
It all comes TPA. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to promote fire and smoke services through like online marketing or any other pay-per-lead sources?
We have, so we've done some online marketing for fire restoration. We've also done um, lunches for fire departments,
Okay.
trying to meet with different fire chiefs to see if they can do referrals that way. Um, Also, we've also worked with I forgot what that line is called, but anyway, you can subscribe to the different. It's like the emergency service line in
Mhm.
your local area, and you can kind of. It's almost like being a police officer or a fire department. You get that emergency call. It's like the CB or whatever,
Yeah.
and you got what's called the fire chaser. They get the call, you're on your way to. So, I haven't personally done that, but I have seen instances of other contractors
I
doing that.
I have a client, in Arizona that put me on game on the fact that they were going out there and really showing up almost at the same time as the emergency
Yeah.
service vehicles from the local fire department or the municipality showing up there. It's a little aggressive for my taste, but man, if it's something that works for you and generating business, I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in fire, right? So I
Absolutely.
understand the motivation for wanting to do that. For me, I always look at fires as a really like emotional toll. So they really
Mhm.
need a compassionate approach, compassionate communication, even more than emergency water damage, right? And that's
Mhm.
why I think one of the things that you mentioned earlier, which was community involvement and relationship building, really should be the key to promoting fire and smoke services, right? So going out there, you're doing lunches with the local fire department, meeting the commissioners, maybe meeting insurance agents, because these are people that you know are ultimately going to end up on site for really first responders in the instances of like fire, serious fire and smoke damage there. How does one cultivate those kind of relationships when they're just getting started? Right? Do you remember the first person you had a relationship with that referred a fire opportunity to you besides
Uh,
TPA work?
yeah, yeah, I mean, it was a fire chief, the thing is, and, you'll hear me say this numerous times, sometimes you gotta get out your comfort zone and just go do it, you know what I mean? So, there was a fire station not too far from where I lived at, decided to swing by one day and, ask who the fire chief was and, how do they handle fires with trying to do, restoration work? Do you all do any referrals? And if there's anything that we could do to be on a vendor list and things and they so like I said, I really didn't know what the heck I was doing or even what I even wanted to ask. But, you know, just kind of went in there and asked the questions. And I mean, they actually did refer a few fires out to us. So one thing I did learn is that if you do talk to the fire departments, a lot of them have a calendar that they do every year or even quarterly.
Mhm.
Um, Try to get onto those calendars because what it is, it's almost like a huge magnet that's the size of a sheet of paper. It has your company name, your information, and anytime you have a fire, um, your name is right there promoted. It talks about fire safety, changing your smoke detectors. So basically, your name is on people's refrigerators or wherever they keep a magnet at in their home, to where you can try to capture, some of that audience if they do have a fire. Because fires are so broad, man. Like you can have a clean fire, or you can have a dirty fire, or you can have one that just totally um, demolishes the house, right? A total loss, so to speak.
What's the
Um,
difference between a clean and a dirty fire? Explain that one to me.
So a clean fire, let's say you have just give you an example. You have a stove, someone was frying some chicken and it caught on fire, right? So it's contained to that one particular area. The whole house is not affected as far as soot is concerned. So you're going in and doing a very light cleaning of the whole home
Okay.
versus a dirty fire where you may have to go in and do demolition and remove drywall and flooring or whatever the case is and gut the house out. So there's a big difference in between those different types of fires.
Okay. So from a marketing channel standpoint, I think we both agree that relationships outside of TPAs, obviously
Yeah.
TPAs have been great for you, but for those folks getting started, they don't be scared. Go out in the community, try to make relationships with fire chiefs, anybody in the community that you know is going to be first on site when this kind of disaster happens to somebody's home. And you also have to be prepared, right? Because if you're going to show up on site for a fire job right as it's happening, you need to be able to provide. Well, you need to be compassionate, obviously, to the person that's
Mhm.
in that experience. But board up services, right? That should be in your back pocket as a service that you're offering and providing to that homeowner immediately. Because I have to assume, depending on the severity of the fire, that's one of the first things that they gets taken into
Yeah,
consideration.
you can do board ups or even tarps,
Okay.
tarping as well too.
Okay.
So it just depends on the severity of the fire, of what's needed. Like I said, more so those dirty fires,
Mhm.
you're gonna need to board up the doors and windows and things of that nature. The clean fire, you rarely ever have to board up a home. But on those larger fire losses, you're gonna need board ups and tarping as well. Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of things that you can do online from a search engine optimization standpoint to make sure that your business is visible when
Mhm.
somebody goes online. I don't see it as much in the space where people have fires and they're immediately going online to find somebody because you have to remember there's some pretty aggressive restoration companies out there that have probably already planted their flag in that opportunity as soon as the fire trucks roll up there. So
Right.
leveraging those relationships, and then when you do have a fire maybe taking some of the like everybody's got to do pictures and things like that before and after if
Okay.
you're doing rebuild work, taking that content and repurposing it and showing the community what you're able to do to help homeowners and business owners that might have experienced that.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't shy away from reaching out to different property management companies as well too on the commercial
There we
side,
go.
hotels. office buildings, because you never know who's going to experience a water loss, a fire, or have mold in their facility, right?
Mhm.
So it's always good to put yourself in front of as many people as you possibly can, because it's another bucket, man. It's
Right.
if you have that pole extended out, at some point, if you have enough poles out, you're gonna catch that fish. So I think it's important to try different types of marketing, whether it's digital marketing, TPA, uh, beating the pavement, knocking on doors, whatever you can do. I say don't leave anything off the table. You know, ultimately, after you experience all of the different marketing channels, you have to make a decision what's working for you and what's not.
Well, that leads me into one of my last points here is you've got to be able to measure the success of that specific marketing channel, right?
Mhm.
So if you have a CRM that you're using to keep track of all the jobs that come in, you should definitely source every single job that you have coming in. Like we take it to the next level with our clients that we do digital marketing for, in that we use tracking numbers to track all these different assets that we're creating for them, right? So we can identify which calls came in from a PPC campaign. We can identify which calls came in from their Google business profile or from their website. And it, for me, tracking it so that, like you said, throw a bunch of poles in the water, right? See what's
Mhm.
going to deliver results for you, but make sure that you track it. Because if you spend $10,000 on marketing, but you don't know which marketing channels are producing the return, then you're just gonna keep spending that money and not be able to double down on the things that are actually working for your business. How do you go
Exactly.
about tracking and measuring some of the marketing initiatives that you've done in the past?
So, like you said, CRM is very important. You can use call trackers to see where your calls are coming in from, or simply even if you're doing it yourself, or if you have a receptionist, ask, "Hey, how did you find out about us?" So you can track where your calls and your business is coming from. But a good majority of ours is, like I said, is TPAs. So ours essentially is very simple to track, because when a TPA calls, they'll say, "Hey, this is AccuSer, this is Lackery. We have new water loss, we have new fire loss.
Right,
Can you accept?" And it's as simple as that.
right. In terms of a CRM, what are you guys using right now?
So we use a couple different things. We use Jobber,
Okay.
which we've been using for years. And we were using Dash, but like I said, we got away from using Dash and just started using Jobber. We're trying to simplify things for ourselves and potential franchisees as well. So we're trying to streamline on the more simplistic side of things.
Got it. All right. So let's summarize a little bit what we talked about today. When it comes to water, I think your primary focus needs to be getting as visible on Google as possible for emergency
Mhm.
water damage. Because if they're not calling their insurance company, they're grabbing that smartphone or that tablet or their computer, they're Googling it. They're not going to social media necessarily. So that's where you
Right.
need to be found, right? Be found as high on Google as possible. That's going to lead to the more calls, more on-site visits, more jobs. And then obviously TPAs have been a big part of driving you guys' water business as well. When it comes to mold remediation, it's really just about getting out in the community,
I
letting
like
people
it.
know what you do, and educating the community. And you can do that on social media, right? That's a great way for you to educate homeowners and business owners about the dangers of mold in their homes or the businesses there.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to fires, it sounds like in addition to TPAs, you've had some great success in like the local community involvement that you've done, creating relationships, and those relationships are leading to referral business for you, right?
Right. And I want to share this last thing with you as well too on the mold side of things. I forgot to mention this. So another marketing channel that we use on the mold side, but is paired with air duct cleaning, is direct mail. Direct mail
Oh,
is
okay.
very powerful for us,
Okay.
because again, you're adding the educational piece for mold, and also selling the product. I mean, the service of cleaning your air ducts as well too, because ultimately, air quality is very important. So mold and cleaning ducts kind of go hand in hand with air quality in a person's home. So we have done very well with direct mail campaigns on that side as well.
Direct mail. Now, I would encourage if you're spending money on all these different marketing channels, tracking everything is super important, and I don't think it's out of question on a quarterly or a semi-annual basis to go in and look and see what kind of ROI you're getting through each one of these marketing channels. That way,
I
you
would
know,
agree
yeah,
100%.
you know what where to spend your efforts, where to spend your money to get the best ROI there. Bobby, have you ever hired a business development rep to go out and work in the community and try to generate those opportunities, or have you kind of served as the business development rep for both of your locations?
So I've never hired a business development rep. So I've always done it myself. So I have gone out and spoken to different hotels and property management companies, I've even created a brochure to where you go to different businesses, give them your information, give a small introduction, and leave some candy at the front desk.
You're you're not above bribery when it comes to
Yeah,
creating
and
those
like I said, I
relationships.
mean, we'll say this for another day on the carpet cleaning side of things. In that brochure, we actually offer, let us clean your first unit for free, and let us prove ourselves. So we've done that as well too. So it's different things that you can do. And sometimes you got to think outside the box and be creative and not do what traditionally has been done in the past with other companies, and just be creative.
Well, there's lots of marketing channels. If you are listening to this and you need help on the digital marketing side, my agency's here to help. You can definitely check us out at waterrestorationmarketing.net. For the audience, I want to thank you guys for sticking around. Hope you like what you heard today. Bobby, as always, your insight is super valuable to our audience. I want to thank everybody for joining us for the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. We'll be back soon with more discussions like this. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you,
Potentially some
Glenn.
interviews down the road that we're going to be doing, and also just highlighting some entrepreneurs that are really killing it in the restoration space. So, Bobby, again, I thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Clinton.
All right, and for all the audience there, until we speak to you again, you guys stay safe, stay dry, and most importantly, stay busy.
Thank you for listening to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe, share, and also leave us a 5-star review. We'll be back with more interviews and discussions with restoration industry leaders really soon. In the meantime, if you're a restoration company looking to add more high-value water jobs, you can reach me and my team at waterrestorationmarketing.net. Again, that's waterrestorationmarketing.net. I look forward to hearing from you soon.